reviews are in for Ghost Recon Wildlands, and whilst they're not necessarily stellar reviews, they're mostly positive. However, amongst the vocal minority, many seem to show a dislike towards the game in certain aspects. Now, as someone who is very open-minded and, at least I think, very unbiased, I'd like to explain kind of both sides of the argument. So these are my thoughts on Ghost Recon Wildlands. I'm going to be exploring both the good and the bad, but I just want to say straight off the bat that I absolutely love the game. I've spent roughly 40 hours in it so far, and I don't think I'm close to completing it. I think I'm going for the 100% though. So the first complaint that I kind of hear is that it's very cookie-cutter Ubisoft sandbox. Now, this kind of term came from Far Cry 3 originally, I believe, where they had this kind of format where they had towers in Far Cry that you could climb to kind of get more unlocks and stuff as you progressed through the map. And that was kind of the first kind of basic form of that Ubisoft sandbox cliche almost. And they've kind of iterated on that into other game franchises outside of Far Cry, such as Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, and now obviously Ghost Recon, and kind of The Division as well, though not so much, I guess. But that's another story. Now, to this, what I say is that Ubisoft have a formula that works. Their games obviously sell very well. They mostly get positive reviews. Obviously, as I said, most Ubisoft games don't tend to get absolutely amazing reviews, such as games like The Witcher, Legend of Zelda, games like that. But it's a tried and true formula, and it works. They've pulled it off very well in Wildlands. It's not like it's a bad iteration on this system. Everything works as it's supposed to. It's entertaining. The bases are fun to explore and take down, whether you take it from a stealthy approach or a kind of guns blazing approach, which is kind of where I want to bring up my next point. A lot of people say Wildlands is not a very fun game solo, and to that I can kind of agree. I'd say Wildlands definitely shines in co-op, and when I say it definitely shines in co-op, that's not to say the single player is completely rubbish. The single player is very enjoyable. I still enjoy it. I can absolutely see why everyone else would not necessarily enjoy it, because it can get a little bit stale, but I'm very into the core gameplay of Wildlands, so for me it stays entertaining no matter what, really. And as I said, with the fact that kind of co-op makes this game really shine, what also makes this game really shine is the stealth gameplay. If you don't know, Ghost Recon is a series that's known for being quite a tactical series. Not necessarily a tactical stealth series, but there's been kind of that kind of formula in previous games. There was a bit of it in Advanced Warfighter and quite a lot of it in Future Soldier, although Future Soldier was quite a linear game, so think of that what you will. But in Wildlands, the stealth really shines. It's when your whole team is being very tactical and you're simultaneously working together to take down a really difficult base, taking out enemies without being spotted, taking down alarms and jammers and things like that. It's very, very satisfying, and every member of your co-op team can play a very important role. You can have a long-range sniper who can be covering from above, pointing out targets, spotting people. You can have someone going in close for the stealth kills. You can have someone dedicated to disabling alarms, drones, things like that. And you can have someone ready with an escape vehicle. There's so many different ways to play Wildlands, and that is where the game really shines. And amongst this, I think, is this kind of goes in with the tactical gameplay, is this sense of almost like role-playing, but not really. Like, when you're playing very tactically, I feel it's most satisfying when people are working together as four-person Spec Ops team, almost. And obviously, the world itself really helps with that. The game is absolutely gorgeous. This is one of the best looking games I've seen on PC in a while. I don't know, but I can't speak for consoles, but on PC the game is absolutely fantastic looking. And so that helps with kind of the world building. They've got different biomes, they've got snow environments, they've got jungle environments, marshland, desert, salt flats, you name it, it's there. And it really helps to kind of add to that tactical gameplay. When you're sneaking through the forest at night, it's pouring with rain, you just kind of feel right at home in this kind of tactical world where you can explore different opportunities and things like that. So I really like that aspect of it. And as I said before, well, as I've said many times now, that is where the game really does shine. Another complaint I've seen from people is that the game kind of lacks story, and honestly, yeah, I do have to agree with that. There is kind of a lack of story, and a lot of people have said the voice acting, well, and the whole introduction of the story is rather cheesy and Americanized, and what they mean by that is the fact that at the beginning of the game you're given this briefing explanation thing of kind of why you're in Bolivia. You're there to take down a drug cartel. What is kind of left out of all the gameplay trailers and things like that is that the reason that the US government is so interested in the Santa Blanca cartel in the first place is that a US CIA agent had been killed in an embassy bombing, and so this is kind of like payback. And a lot of people say it's very Americanized, it's very cheesy, it's very kind of like, oh well, it's kind of a lazy excuse for a invasion of Bolivia. It's lazy storytelling, and I personally have to disagree with that aspect, as I think it kind of almost shows America as the bad guy in a sense for once, which is nice, showing that there's this massive narco state and America will only get involved if one of their own is killed. I think that really kind of makes a political statement almost, and I really like that. But I have to agree, otherwise I have to agree that yeah, there's not really any kind of story whatsoever. You're dropped into Bolivia, there's a few cutscenes at the start, they're not very interesting, and then it's, here you go and take down the cartel. To that end, he does a good job, but some people wanted a story, so I can understand the frustration. And speaking of story, there are a lot of story missions, and there are a lot of side missions. As I said, I played about 40 hours, and I'd say I've probably done a quarter of the story at absolute most. It's a really long game, and I'm pleasantly surprised by how long it is. So yeah, just to kind of reiterate, I think I've gone over kind of the points I wanted to talk about very briefly and kind of countered some arguments from both sides almost. So what I'll say is this. It's not a perfect game. Also, I forgot to mention the game is actually very buggy, and for that I'm going to have to strike it down a bit. But I've kept playing because I still enjoy the experience, even though there's the odd hiccup that's rather infuriating. When I say the odd hiccup, I mean there are a lot of way more glitches than there should be. Definitely way more glitches than there should be. 80 to 90% of the time, it doesn't interfere with gameplay. You have a 20%, when it does, it's game breaking. And Ubisoft definitely need to work on that, but otherwise I'm very much enjoying the game. So the other points, I can completely understand how the game is not for everyone. It's not story oriented at all. A lot of people like story games such as The Last of Us, and like Horizon Zero Dawn just came out. People are into story games at the moment, and this is not a story game. People also like random, shooters that they can just jump into, and I don't think this game is that either. I think this is a very methodical and tactical shooter, and not everyone will enjoy it. I personally enjoy it a lot because it's right up my alley. I can completely see why other people don't. As for the Ubisoftness of it, some say there's been Ubisoft downgrades. I personally think, sure, they've downgraded the graphics a little bit, as they tend to do, just to make it run on the right hardware. The game seems fairly well optimized. I run at about 100 FPS on my 1080 rig, but yeah, otherwise it seems to run very well. And in terms of like the sandbox aspect, like Ubisoft never really promised anything absolutely spectacular in the demos, so I don't really see an argument for there being downgrades unless you're talking about graphical downgrades, in which case there's always going to be some. They've got to make it run on the hardware. What can you do? The game still looks very beautiful regardless. It's not like Watch Dogs where the game looks like complete shit. It still looks gorgeous, and it still runs fairly well, so I have no complaints. But anyway, those are my basic thoughts on Ghost Recon Wildlands. I'd love to be able to discuss this in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the game if you've played it, or your thoughts on the game if you haven't played it. What kind of impressions do you have of the game? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's get the conversation going. I'd like to hear what people like, what they don't like, all this kind of stuff. So let me know. I'm probably going to do a follow-up video with a few more points if people would like me to discuss that kind of thing more. I feel like I haven't really explored everything, and I'm not exactly selling the game here. I just wanted to kind of counter a few basic points and also kind of explain why I enjoy it so much. But anyway, yeah, that's all I really have to say for now. Now, I know if you're watching this after the BF1 video I did with the same title, you'll know that I haven't really been kind of joking around as much, and all I can really say to that is that I'm not really feeling the comedy flowing through me at the moment. I don't really want to go into it, but it's just not a good time, and I thought, I really like this game, so why not kind of talk about it in a serious manner for once, and kind of get a discussion going, hopefully. So, I hope you enjoyed the video anyway. If you didn't, dislike. If you did, like button. And if you really liked it, and you want to see more of this kind of stuff, don't forget to subscribe. That's all I really have time for today. This is Harrison, signing out. Shit, I forgot something. Quick note, there's going to be a Ghost Recon Wildlands video going up on Horseplay where I kind of talk about the game in more detail and also kind of make some jokes and stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, subscribe to Horseplay as well. It's a pretty cool channel, if I don't say so myself. But yeah, there's so much stuff I forgot to talk about that will be in that video, like the customization. The customization is nuts. There's really good weapon and like character customization that I want to talk about. All sorts, kind of explore some some fun co-op moments, some not so fun co-op moments, some glitches that I want to kind of highlight. So yeah, subscribe to Horseplay for more Wildlands in the future.